Hello everybody, this is video number 4, I think. 4. I initially, if you've been watching from the first video, I initially committed to doing a video every week, and that so far has not worked so well past the first 2 weeks. So it seems like it's becoming a every other week kind of thing, but I just don't want to force myself to make a video. I feel like that removes the authenticity of why I'm trying to do this in the first place, which is just record stuff when I feel like talking about it, and not really just forcing myself to make videos. So I still want to keep in my head to do a video every week. It might not happen every single week, as it has in the past 4 weeks, but regardless, I just feel like I don't want to just turn on the camera and force myself to talk about stuff, because the whole purpose why I'm doing this is to journal my own thoughts, and it's if I don't have any thoughts to journal, then maybe it's not worth making a video on, right? So today, I'm actually about to go in the gym for a week 4 squat. I'm a little anxious. I'm confident I can do it. To be honest, I'm not worried about accomplishing it, but I'm just anxious to do it. And yeah, training so far has been going well. I hit a bench double PR, which I'll show right now, of 320 for 2. Pauses were a little, on the quick side of things, but regardless, it was a huge PR for me. I mean, that's 5 kilos under my competition PR, and to be able to hit it on a day that's my secondary, that doesn't always show up really strong, and sometimes it does show up really strong, like when I did 315 for a double, but this week I didn't feel necessarily too strong. I just wanted to progress it from the week before, try to add 2.5 kilos, and it ended up working out. So I'm really happy with that. Hopefully tomorrow for my primary bench it'll show up better. But actually, I wanted to talk about something that I've been talking about with my friends about, and it was a good conversation to have, and I just feel like putting my stance on it in a way. So why train to failure, right? Why train really hard on accessories, what we call as powerlifters accessories, right? And when I say accessories, I mean just any movement that is not squat, bench, or deadlift of the competition form, right? So with a barbell, squat, bench, or deadlift, anything that's not that's supposed to supplement your lifts, your muscle growth, is what powerlifters might call an accessory, which I personally don't like the word accessory, because it kind of belittles just the categorization of it as an accessory already puts it in a powerlifter's mind that it's not vital or important, right? Now, I might not be speaking to to whoever is looking at this video, and I'm telling you this, you might not think of an accessory as being not vital, right? But in my head, in my stance, the way I look at it, it's the term accessory, what does that mean in real life? In other terms, right? If you have an outfit and you can accessorize it, it's not a main piece, right? An accessory is maybe a bracelet or a necklace or an earring. It's just a subtle piece that might enhance your lift, might enhance your outfit, right? But I think the word accessory alone I don't really love, because to me, I look at it as equally important as my competition lifts. Which I feel like a lot of people now in powerlifting have like come to that awareness that it is really important to not skip accessories. I feel like I see online a lot people talking about don't skip your accessories, don't skip it, right? But now that you're in the boat of doing accessories, how hard should you push them, right? So this is my stance. Disclaimer, I'm just offering the way I look at it, and doesn't mean it's right. It's just the way I like to look at training, right? So this is the way I look at it, right? So in my head, just to put it plain and simple, I don't think that everyone needs to train to failure. I think that you get the most benefit out of an accessory movement, a bodybuilding movement, let's say a leg extension or a belt squat. I'm gonna exclude dips from this because dips are kind of like an accessory that are a little more straining on your joints. And I'm gonna be just like, that's a little bit different. That's like a separate kind of conversation in my head. Because the way I train dips is different than any other accessory. But I think for all other accessories, right? Let's say leg extensions, chest press, flies, curls, tricep extensions, things like that. I think you could get the most benefit out of maybe a at 8, right? Like a real at 8 though. Like where you have a gun to your head and you will only be able to get 2 more reps if you had that gun to your head, right? Like I think you get all the benefits that you need from going to at 8. Now, most of the time, the reason why we, like a lot of people talk about training to failure is because most people, and I think everybody, and I myself included, right? I'm not excluding myself from this. We don't have like a real gauge of failure, right? Because there's a level between your mechanical muscle actually like being able to output energy, and then there's a level of pain threshold that your brain has to resist, right? I think most of the time our bodies will limit how far we can push a muscle to absolute exhaustion with the pain so that you don't completely exhaust the muscle. I mean, your body doesn't want to do this, right? Like at the end of the day, your body you're like fighting against what your body wants to do. Your body doesn't want to completely drain your muscle. So I think that's why like training to failure is a good way of thinking about it, because if you do train to failure, like when I train to failure, I always kind of have in the back of my mind, maybe I could have done a little more, right? And that thought seems to go away less and less the harder I push myself. But that's why I think it's like a good way to like program for as like a coach, like the way Evan, my coach, programs me is like AMRAP, right? So as many reps as possible. And that just like pushes you to do as many reps as you can, but like I look at it as like going to failure until I just can't take it anymore. But like I was saying, there is like a threshold between your brain's pain on the muscle, and especially depends on the movement, right? Some movements are much more painful than others. Like I think a tricep extension barely has a pain threshold compared to like a hamstring curl, where you're like stretching your hamstrings really hard, or like an RDL or any sort of like deep stretch, like even a bicep curl, right? Like it's not you can't compare the pain threshold amongst all the accessories. So okay, so now this is my stance on it, right? So a lot of people kind of I guess, think like training to absolute failure, training very hard in accessories. So really, really pushing it as hard as you can inhibit your progress on your competition lifts, right? Your momentum where it needs to be as you progress through a training block, you know, making sure that you can still maintain your strength on your competition lifts. Because at the end of the day, I'm a power lifter. So I agree with that. I fully agree with that. I wouldn't want to train to the extent where it would destroy my momentum on my competition lifts. That's why there's like a time and a place, I believe, to be able to really go balls to the wall on an accessory, right? Maybe I'm ending a block where it's not super heavy, where I'm very far from my 1 rep max, and I can afford some extra leeway in that like bodybuilding aspect. But is it even worth it, right? Is it even worth it to like do a drops? Like I do drop sets on my sissy squats, on my belt squat sissy squats. I do drop sets on my belt squat RDLs. I do drop sets. I've done forced reps before where I ask people to assist it. Now we're getting to like, okay, this is the way I look at it, right? So you have like a bar, right? This entire, all right, let's say, how am I going to do this? This is a bar of where it probably is like right here where, let's say this entire bar is like, how can I say this? Damn, I didn't really think about this. Okay. Let's say when I think you get the most impact, right, out of like an at 8 accessory movement. If you push it to an RPE 8, where you only have 2 more reps left in the tank, maybe it's like right here. And this little extra space right here is maybe where you have like, you know, an exhaustion of muscle through drop sets, forced reps. Maybe you do a myo set. You could do all sorts of different things to really squeeze out an extra bit. But is it even really worth it? I mean, we're talking about a couple percentage points of like extra hypertrophy maybe, right? And my honest answer is like maybe not, right? Why do I do it then? I do it because I like it, right? A little bit about me, like background wise, before I lifted, I was a skateboarder. I like to skateboard every day. I also mountain biked for 4 years. I used to ride jumps. I used to ride drops, you know, like basically just like the mountain biking and the skateboarding had a thing in common where it was like what people would call like adrenaline junkie sports, right? I used to love progressing those sports, if you want to call them sports, because it allowed me to like get into a state every day where I was like in like fight or flight, right? Like I gotta commit to doing this trick. I gotta commit to doing this jump, right? Like you drop in on a ramp, I gotta commit to like doing this. And it's like a very, it's a feeling that you get inside of you where it's high adrenaline. And I loved it. I loved it. When I transitioned, when I got into lifting, I didn't even realize, you know, I'm recognizing this years after, but I didn't even realize that I was still chasing that feeling of like adrenaline and like, you know, and that fight or flight kind of like feeling inside of you where you are sweating, you're anxious, you're like getting ready to do something that you are scared to do. That was me every time I went mountain biking and skateboarded. When I would ride jumps, you know, it does get easier over time, but that feeling doesn't go away. You just learn how to control it more, right? And like hone it in. So what does this have to do with training to failure, right? Before I do a set of like sissy squats where I know I'm going to do a drop set and I'm about to get into like a deeply painful state, I still get that feeling. I get nervous. I like feel nauseous sometimes. Like I mentally have to like get myself in that place, and it just is a response of doing something that's scary. It's like very fight or flight, and I enjoy it. I did skateboarding and mountain biking for years, and that was just part of the aspect of it that I loved. I loved that aspect. And maybe I'll do another aspect. Maybe I'll, reflect deeper on why I really like that. But, you know, I just really like the high adrenaline, nervous, fight or flight response. And that's why I train to failure. Do I think that doing the drop sets and the forced reps are making my accessories more effective than everybody else? No, probably not. I just enjoy the higher intensity of things, right? Like, when I mountain biking and skateboarded, there was a very high risk to everything. So the more skilled I became, the more difficulty things were, the higher difficulty things were, and the more risk that was associated with like messing up, right? To me, doing a belt squat to failure doesn't have any like, or to a forced reps and drop sets, like there's no like risk of me breaking my head open or breaking my leg. Like once I can't withstand the pain anymore, I just stop. Or once I really, really can't go anymore, I stop. So that's why I like really, really love it, because I'm able to bring that aspect of like the high adrenaline stuff without the fear of me like getting severe brain damage from crashing or something on my bike or skateboard. And I could put it into a lift where I can really, really, really push myself in that high intensity zone without the risk of me just like really, really destroying myself. So I hope that makes sense. My take on it is, do I think everybody needs to do drop sets and forced reps and things like that to like be a successful like accessory lifter or power lifter? Definitely not. I do not think that. I think honestly, if I didn't have that aspect of myself where I feel gratification and like enjoyment, like I genuinely feel joy from doing something that puts me in that really high intensity state and high adrenaline, then I would just do accessory sat 8, because you get plenty of benefits from just doing that than to pushing it past that. This is all like those other ways of doing drop sets, myo sets, pause rest. There's so many different variations of like pushing past failure to where it's like very marginal, if not negligible, difference in gains, right? You might not be getting any gains. I might not be getting any extra gains from doing that, but I just enjoy it. That's the way I look at it. I've always enjoyed really high intensity stuff, and that's like what got me into lifting was, the much less risk that was associated with me pushing myself really hard. Obviously there's a lot of risk in lifting too. You can really hurt yourself if you don't know what you're doing. And even if you do know what you're doing, you could still really hurt yourself. It's not like a no risk sport. That's not what I'm trying to say. What I'm trying to say is just compared to mountain biking and skateboarding, where I was getting hurt like every other week from falling and crashing and just getting over those little humps of progression. It's part of the sport is crashing, and you learn how to deal with it. That's kind of my take, right? So I hope you gain something from this video. I hope you guys enjoy it. I'm about to go squat right now, and I'll show the clip of the result, and let me know if you guys like this video. I could do more like this. It was definitely a topic that I felt intrigued to talk about, and I talked about it for 20 minutes, so without even blinking, what it felt like. So all right, hope you guys have a great day, great week, great night whenever you're watching this. I will see you in the next video. So here's my set of 501 for 4. I came into this day honestly feeling not the greatest. My lower back was really, really fatigued. So maintaining my positioning, like going into the descent of the squat, felt challenging. And after this set of 501 for 4, my lower back was really pretty cooked, as you can see. So I had to take a 530 fatigue single. And when I first unracked it, I was like, I don't think I can do this. But I was setting up really unevenly under the bar, which has been an issue for me, setting up closer to one side. And like it's starting to just continue to become an issue to where it's kind of like causing a little more unnecessary difficulty for the lift. So after I couldn't unrack it, I was like, all right, I need to take a second. And then I just went back, and I was really, really happy that I hit it afterwards, because my mental was like all messed up when it felt so heavy on my back. But I just needed to set up evenly. Lower back was really, really, really fatigued after this. So I couldn't really push myself on back downs, which was unfortunate because my quads and my legs felt so ready to be pushed really hard. But we live to train another day. And yeah, a successful end of block. I mean, really checked all the boxes that we need to. That's really what it's about right now in my training, is just checking the boxes as time goes on, and just making sure that I'm hitting all these milestones, right? So it's like I have some good goals in set for this prep, and like with the way my coach Evan has everything, he has like written out the plan until my meet, and seeing those numbers way down the line seems super daunting, but being able to just look at what I have right in front of me and like just checking the boxes as I go along, it's like, okay, like we are climbing those steps to get up there, right? Like you can't just jump to those goals. I really like looking at what's in front of me in training and not getting caught up on the numbers down the line, and like having these milestones to just keep me good and keep me like on the right headspace is great. So yeah, still on track for all the goals. Finish the block, checking all the boxes, feeling great, and I hope you guys feel great too.